Ita for telling my siblings I want nothing to do with our mother's funeral and won't help pay for it. I, 24F, am the youngest of 5. My siblings are John, 33 meters, Lucy, 32F, Nathan, 30 meters, and Erica, 28F. And possibly my father left when our mother was pregnant with me. I say possibly mine because I do not know if he is my father or if another man is. Nobody does really. But anyway, our mother was an alcoholic and neglectful to us. My siblings all cut and run as soon as they could and left me alone with her. They never visited, refused to help me and rarely called our mother. I was left to face her verbal abuse. I was there to pick up after her. She was not a good mother, and once I moved out I cut her off completely. My siblings were upset I abandoned our mother. Our relationship has been tense since. I hate that they expected me to look after the woman who pushed me out, because that's all she did. Our mother became ill sometime last year, and in July they were told she would not make it. I did not see her. They tried to talk me around, but like I told them, I made my peace years ago and I owed her absolutely nothing. She died very recently and now they want me to attend the funeral and help pay for it. I said no. They tried to guilt me into it. I told them I want nothing to do with the funeral and I was not going to spend a thing on the woman who treated me like shit. More guilt trips happened, and then I pointed out I did it alone for 4 years. I had to clean up her puke, bathe her, make sure she didn't hurt herself. I had to clean puke off myself more times than I care to remember. I had to fend for myself all alone. I did my time. I was done. They are pissed, upset, hurting, etc., and I get it. But I don't think I owe them either. They didn't help me when I needed it, so why should I help them now? NTA, you don't owe any of them anything. You've more than done your time and you deserve better. Enjoy your life and be happy on your own terms. Yes, I would not have stayed as long as I did, but I had nowhere to go and I knew it would be hard AF to find some place for me that wouldn't get CPS involved. NTA, think it's hypocritical of them to say you abandoned her when they left as soon as they could and didn't look back. I would have said nah, because they are also dealing with a neglectful childhood and all the trauma associated, but they have absolutely no right to hound you to be a part of anything you don't want to be. I think you're really strong for standing your ground here. All the best, Op. This is how I feel. Ike, I get they might have forgiven her and that's great for them, maybe they care more now, but that doesn't mean I need to. I was left alone with her the longest. I took care of her the most. Do not owe any of them more than I already did. My siblings were upset I abandoned our mother. NTA, you didn't abandon her, you moved out as soon as you could, which is exactly what your siblings did. You spent a significant amount of time looking after her on your own. I'd say you've done more than your fair share. Op's siblings abandoned her. This twisted narrative that she left her mom is probably just so they don't have to face that they left their small sister alone with their alcohol-sick parent. Shame on them. NTA, do not go to that funeral. Do not pay for that funeral. She was not a mother to you and I am sorry you had to go through that. I won't be anywhere near the funeral. They definitely won't get anything from me toward it. They want her to have one and they want to pay for it, fine, but they have to split it between 4 instead of 5 if that's what they want. Ita for refusing a necklace with my son's ashes after my husband let his mother take the urn. My son Tom passed away 4 months ago, at the age of 6. He had a heart condition that robbed him of living his childhood like any other kid. He was such an angel and he loved food so much. I tried to feed him as much as I could because he was so thin and didn't have enough energy to run around and play because of his condition. My husband's family were directly involved in my son's care. They were always there, but they never stayed at the hospital so I could go home and get some sleep. They stopped their kids from being around him. They did not help at all. When my son passed away, they felt free to take his belongings, clothes/toys/blankets, and my mother-in-law insisted to have a burial service, but I chose to have him cremated and kept his ashes in an urn inside my bedroom. My mother-in-law started visiting regularly. She didn't do that when he was alive, just visited the hospital, and she started talking about making ashes pendants for me, my husband and her family as a way to carry Tom's memory with us and keep him close wherever we go. She told me that my brother-in-law loved Tom Tom so much and wanted a pendant made for him as well. I was stunned and I didn't know what to tell her. I remember telling her that this was never gonna happen, and that all those family members have their kids with them and that I was the one who lost a son. She started arguing, talking about how important Tom was to her and the family and that my husband would agree with this fair treatment instead of keeping an urn in my bedroom and refusing to let the family share their grief. I told her there was no way I'd say yes. She seemed so upset and took it personally, started berating me and talking about how everyone else was trying to show support and that was the last time we spoke. I got invited to a road trip by my family to help get me relieve so much stress, and when I returned after 6 days, I found that my son's urn was gone. My husband showed me a necklace that he said had my son's ashes in it and pulled out another one that belonged to him that was in the shape of cross. He told me that his mom made necklaces for me, him, her brother-in-law with our son's ashes, paid money to get it done and so we could all have Tom with us. I was in a shock. I had to sit down for a minute. Turned out he allowed his mom to take the urn while I was gone, and his defense was that his family cared so much for Tom and they all deserved to keep a memorial necklace as a way to remember him. I yelled at him that this was my son, not theirs. She had no right to take the urn and do what she wanted with it, especially when I told her no. I was so mad with him, I couldn't even look at him. I took my things and went back to my family and refused to take the necklace that she put thousands on. I called her and berated her for her awful behavior and told her she was selfish and inconsiderate for taking my son from me like that. My husband is trying to apologize, but I can't accept he did this and betrayed me. Holy shit, this is vile. Who the fuck decides to part out someone else's child's ashes? JFC. NTA. I'm so sorry for you loss. I can't imagine. NTA. They should have asked your permission. I don't care what fucking weasel words they use. They had no right. She already knew that I had no intentions on doing what she asked, but she thought that my husband's approval was enough for her. He has no excuse, absolutely no excuse for what he did, no matter what he says. I'm hurt by him mostly because I really thought that he was the only one who really understood my pain and how much my son's death devastated me, but I see him differently now. He made me feel like I was losing my son again and he is responsible for what his mother did. I cut contact with her. She knows she can never even call because of the things that I'd say to her. She knew she made a mistake and she's now hiding behind my husband. NTA. This is ridiculous. Why would they ever think this is okay? I would definitely cut all of them off. I would seek legal action to try and get the urn back. Divorce and document what he's done. That will be useful in divorce court. I don't see how you'll ever be able to look at him or forgive him or tolerate your husband ever again. NTA. So basically, Mill is a grave robber and your husband enabled it. I am so sorry this happened to you. It is so far outside the boundaries of reasonable behavior. WIBTA. If I refuse to go to my daughter's wedding because my wife isn't invited? I never wanted children. I was always careful, always wore a condom, but somehow I ended up getting my ex pregnant. I begged her to abort or to consider adoption, but she wanted to keep the pregnancy. We ended up moving in together and I met my wife around the same time. We were in the same friend group and I was instantly very attracted to her. I guess people call it an emotional affair. I told her about my problems and she was supportive and believed if a woman could abort, a man should have the right to walk away. My ex gave birth to twins and I stayed for the first 6 months, but honestly I just didn't love them. I didn't want to be a father, the feelings weren't there, and I was becoming very depressed. I hated my life and I think if I stayed I would have ended up severely depressed or an alcoholic. My wife graduated around that time and was moving back to California. We were in New York, so across the country. She said I should come with her and start over. She said something that really stuck with me about how if I don't walk away now I can't do it in 5 years, and right now is the moment to hurt my kids the least. I told my ex that it wasn't working and I didn't want to be a dad. I moved to California and married my wife, but I paid all of my child support, paid for their education, extracurriculars, etc. When the twins were 18 they wanted to meet me, and I felt ready. My son and I built a good relationship, but my daughter hates my wife. She wants her to apologize for telling me it was alright to leave, which obviously even if she did say that, I made the decision. My daughter is getting married and recently said my wife is not invited. I told her that is incredibly disrespectful and you can't invite half of a couple. She said she is selfish and evil and just said those things so I'd move with her. I've fully paid for this wedding, which I probably wouldn't have if I knew this ahead of time, but I told her I will not publicly disrespect my wife. Edit, I am deleting this account, but someone told me that people are looking up the username and harassing some lawyer. My wife is not a lawyer. Please, you can think I am a mega asshole, but leave that woman alone. Question, how does your wife feel about this? Can't imagine why she would want to go. Why did you ever tell your children, or ex, what your wife said? Your daughter will hold this against you as well. She has a right to be upset you are the one who left, and yes, it was you who made the decision. In her mind though, if she hadn't said that, she would have had her daddy. Info, have you ever sat down with your daughter and explained that your decision to not be a part of her life was yours and yours alone?